Hey everyone, this is George Couros. Welcome back to another solo episode of the Innovators Mindset podcast. And if you've been listening to my podcast over the summer months, first of all, thank you, because I know much of my audience is, teaching in North America, they work with schools, and I appreciated that you would take time out of your summer schedule to connect and listen to me. I tried to purposely keep them really, really short. But I also recorded all these episodes before I went on my summer speaking tour, which is something I've been doing for probably the last 15 or so years. And this is the first time I've actually sat down and recorded something on my own new, probably in over 5 to 6 weeks. So it's August 31st when I'm recording this, and you'll see this early in September. And I just wanted to kind of share some of my excitement about the upcoming school year. And it's not because of like my own excitement. It's because of people I connected with this summer and their excitement, their enthusiasm, and really how people are really focusing on really kind of being vulnerable and sharing their own learning and leadership. I think that's something that really, really matters to me. So I just want to share a couple things that I saw over the summer. And then one story in particular, I'll save for last, that I feel kind of set the tone for how we kind of look at the world and how we get people to move forward. And it was on my actual very last day of speaking before I headed home just this prior weekend. And by the way, when I'm recording this, I'm doing a short episode. It's my son's birthday. He's taking a nap right now. And I'm really excited. Marino's 3 years old, which is unbelievable to me. To watch my kids grow up is really such a blessing. So some of the things I noticed this year, and the thing that I think really kind of resonated with me is I've been doing this for a long time, and this is the most excitement I have felt for an coming school year since 2020. Now, I'm trying to not have recency bias here and thinking it was like, because honestly, I felt it was the best year ever, and I am including pre 2020, but I'll just kind of save it to since 2020, just to kind of inform recency bias. And it is my perspective based on the school districts I worked with. So if you're thinking, oh no, our school district is not excited and everyone thinks it's going to suck, or we're having this obstacle, of course it didn't go, but just from what I saw, there is a genuine enthusiasm for the year. And I feel people are just really focused on their own community more than anything recently. And that all being said, that enthusiasm wasn't in the absence of problems. It wasn't in the absence of obstacles. But I felt that schools with their communities are really coming together to really kind of find new opportunities for their kids. And it just was really kind of interesting to me to see that this year, because I will tell you, I go into places, I'm not just a rah-rah guy. Like, I really try to make sure people feel appreciated and affirmed for the work that they're doing. But I challenge people too. And that's something that really, really matters to me, because my hope is that people will grow through, some of the challenges, because I've grown through some of the work that I've done. And if you're bringing me in to just kind of say you're the best, it's just not me. I want to kind of, challenge people to grow, because that's something we expect from our kids. We need to expect from ourselves. And it was just the enthusiasm to grow was really, really fascinating. And there's an excitement that I haven't felt a long time. And it kind of leads maybe, and again, I want to make sure this is really clear, because I don't want to get this clipped out of context. It's not that there's no problems. And you could be listening to this. You can be in a community where, hey, we're going through this in our community. This is something that's there. It was just the experience I had going to school districts all over North America. The excitement I felt for the year was unbelievable. And so I hope that wherever you are, you're feeling that. And again, it's not that we don't have obstacles, but I just feel that there's an appreciation that we really can overcome them when we work together. And kind of leads to the second one. There just seemed to be more of a vulnerability in people's willingness to learn and try and just say like, hey, I don't know some stuff. And maybe it's because of like artificial intelligence everywhere. It's kind of making everyone feel a little discomfort, if not a lot of discomfort. But there's something like that. There's a really good opportunity when something really kind of just goes into our world and it really disrupts us, it actually humbles us in a way that we have to actually feel like we realize we really don't know everything, and that there's always going to be new things. There's always going to be new opportunities. There's always going to be new obstacles. But what I really appreciated was not just from teaching staff, not just from, support staff, custodians, from secretaries, all the people I connected with, but from leadership. And I'll talk more about that in a second. There was this real vulnerability to say like, hey, I'm still trying to figure out, I'm still trying to grow, I'm still trying to get better. And when you have people openly saying that, there's almost an appreciation. Like no one likes when everyone knows everything. No matter as much as that might feel good, it's when people say like, hey, I'm struggling with some stuff, that it actually opens the door for other people to say, yeah, I'm struggling with some stuff too, and that's okay. And I felt that was something that really, really resonated with me. And I do want to kind of step back for a second. I was actually in Washington State, and there was a principal there, and she said she listens to podcasts. Mary, if you listen to this podcast, talking about you, okay? And she was so excited to connect with me, and her excitement led me really to be excited to meet with her, because just what a blessing it is to do the work that I do and to connect with people like Marion. And she's someone that really wants to grow, wants to get better. But as a principal, she said to me, she's like, I have the best staff ever. I have the best staff ever. And I met them. And that's what I'm talking about, that enthusiasm. But you can just tell with Mary is that as much as she loves her staff, she also knows she needs to grow and get better. And that's why her staff loves her, because she also appreciates them. And I think when you have people that are in administrative positions willing to be vulnerable, to constantly push their own learning, then it's so much easier for the staff. This is something I've been saying for years. You cannot expect people to take risks as an administrator if they don't see you doing the same thing. And I just feel there's more openness to this, that people are saying, listen, I don't know some things, but I want to figure them out. And so that really, really mattered to me. And before I share about my last day, there is something that and again, recency bias, I don't want to say this is everywhere, but there is this interesting shift. And maybe it's because I'm looking for it, and maybe because I'm really focused on it, that as much as people are focusing on innovation and really, pushing the boundaries of what is possible in school, while understanding there's certain requirements that we'll always have to do, whether it's curriculum, state standards, provincial standards, whatever, there's also this emphasis on really hitting the fundamentals like literacy and numeracy. And what I love about that is that there is a shift in these communities that I noticed, where it's not either or, but it's both. That, hey, we really got to focus on these fundamental things and really nail them to actually get to that next space where we can really be innovative, where we can do things that our kids can do. But if you don't focus on that, then we can't do the innovative things. And as much as I would say like literacy and numeracy are those fundamental things that people really focus on, which they were, the other thing was really kind of respect for each other. Really, how do we, really talk about how we emphasize how people connect with each other, not just students, although that was quite an emphasis, but staff, that we have to develop our students to be really respectful and kind. And the behavioral stuff really is something that really, really matters. And if I remember one of the last days I said, listen, one of the nicest comments I said from somebody was that what I love about your emphasis is you talk about innovation, but there's a real focus on character and how I interact with people. And I remember having this conversation, and people were just really excited about that aspect of it. I said, yeah, because you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you're a jerk to everybody, nobody cares, right? Nobody wants to listen to you. That if you don't actually know how to appreciate and connect with people, does it really matter how smart you are? Does it really matter how good your ideas are? I don't want to connect with you. And this is something that you see in not just education, but all facets of life. And so that foundational element to go to innovation, I just feel there's this community where it's not separated, but it's together, that we need to build these fundamentals to get to the innovative practice. So that really sticks out to me. And on my very last day of speaking, one of the things that really stuck out to me, and it really shines this light in the community, and I was actually in Maine, absolutely amazing community that I worked with. And the superintendent there was really, he talked to me before and he really wanted to focus on innovation. He really talked like a lot of things that he said, but you can tell he had this genuine love for his community, and his excitement for them was really, really powerful. And one of the things that stuck out to me, and I talked about this briefly in a blog post, in a short video, but it's just really been running around in my mind, was that he had shared survey results about the community that he received. And he didn't focus on, hey, the community said we did this wrong, we did this wrong, we did this wrong. He shared about something he was kind of dinged for. And it was that they wished he would be more visible in the schools and the classrooms. And he didn't, like, I'm not making an assumption. He said that outright to everybody. And to watch a superintendent say, here is something that you all think I could get better at, and like acknowledge it and then say, and so this year I am going to focus on becoming better. It was awesome. It was, I don't know this person, but I was so incredibly proud. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, because what I've seen in the past, and I will tell you, I saw this, I cannot remember one instance that I saw it this summer, but I've seen it before, where a superintendent or curriculum department lead or something like that will come up and say, here's all the things that we did wrong this year, and here's what we're going to focus on. And it's just like, is this really how we start the year, is like just hearing about how horrible we're at stuff? But to have someone actually point a finger at themselves and say, here's something that you think I get better at, and I'm going to, and this is a commitment to you, put yourself out there. It's like kind of the analogy I thought about is like when you say like, hey, here's this goal I have for my fitness, and then you post it on Instagram, there's accountability because everyone's watching you talk about that. And I think that, to me, I wrote a book over the summer, which I didn't even exist in my mind, on June 30th. And then by July 15th, it was done. It was called Forward Together, and it'll be out in January 2026. I'm so excited about this book, by the way. And the feedback has been incredible so far. The thing I said is that if you want to move communities together, the first thing you do is do not point at them, point at yourself. Because if you are just pointing your finger at someone else, people get pushback to that. But when people say like, hey, here's the thing that I need to get better at, here's the thing where I've kind of lacked, it is so much easier for other people to now see themselves in the story and to be more willing to grow. Because when you point at others, there's a pushback. When people see you're willing to grow yourself, then you're modeling the way forward. And I'll just never forget that. And I wanted to share that because that is just something I hope all administrators really think about, is like when you're pushing your staff, when you're saying, we need to get better at this. And one of the things I always have said when I work specifically with administrators, the worst thing you can say after today is, hey, I heard some guy from Canada today, here's things you need to do. It's like the worst way to start, because a lot of people are terrified when their administrators go to a conference. One of the things I always say is, hey, I went to this conference, I went to this event, and here's some things I'm going to do that you should really point at yourself first. And this superintendent did that without any prompt from me or anything like that. And when I wrote about it, I shared this. The predecessor to leading by example is learning by example. When we are vulnerable enough to share when we need to grow and how we plan to get there, others are more likely to do the same. And that superintendent really hammered that home. So I just wanted to share some of that. And it's nice to sit in front of a camera, but my son's about to wake up. We're going to do some birthday pizza. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. I hope some of these lessons resonate with you, but I hope any of you who I met, if you met me this summer, let me know. I would love to hear from you, because it was such a blessing to connect with so many incredible educators. And I feel rejuvenated, and I just feel an enthusiasm. Not that there's no problems, but just knowing that there's so many communities that are out there knowing that they can solve them. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for all you do. Take care.